What's up, everybody? You're back with The Chosen Khan. And today in the studio, we have with us Miss Ilhan Abdullahi.
Hey, everybody.
There we go. All right, this was one that we wanted to do for a while as well.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, I wanted to first touch base on who Ilhan is. How would you describe yourself?
Who I am. How would I describe myself? Ooh, super outgoing. I like to think I'm funny.
Yeah.
But definitely I would say a social activist, more in the last recent years, so.
What led to, let's take a step back first before all that. Where are you from?
Oh, that I don't know how to answer that question. That's a question I struggle with. So my parents are from Somalia. I was born in Italy, but I've been raised here since I was 2.
You were born in Italy?
Yeah.
That's insane.
So honestly, I get that question asked when I'm here, when I'm traveling. I don't know. Sometimes I say Canada, and then I get that look. And then sometimes I say...
Like, you can't be from Canada.
Yeah, you can't be from Canada. And I'm like, but I am. And then sometimes it depends if I go to, social gatherings or, Muslim events, I'll say I'm from Somalia. Mm-hmm. But if people want to know where I'm born, I say I'm from Italy. So it's a complicated question.
You know what I love about that?
Yeah.
My thing, it's pretty similar. I was born in the States, in Seattle. I lived in Canada for a long time, lived in Pakistan for a while. And people would always ask me that, too. My family came here in 1908. So my dad was born here, my grandfather came here.
Generations.
And so I'm like, where am I from? When they ask that question. Because in Vancouver, we always ask that, where are you from? And you're like, damn, I'm from here. No, you can't be from here. So,
and it's right when you meet them, it's the first thing, hi, my name is this, where are you from?
Yeah. And so that's why what I started doing now is when they say that, I'm like, I'm just from the world.
That's a good answer.
All right? It's something that would work in your, I guess, when it comes to you. Because... we are all from the world, right?
Yeah.
Why do we limit ourselves? Yeah. So you're born in Italy, then you came here when you were 2 years old.
Yes.
And so what have you been what led you to this social activist journey? I'm confused. How did it happen?
I know. I think it was a lot of traveling and coming across people who have not been exposed to people who are either Muslim or people of color or Somalis and getting all these misrepresentations.
When did you first start traveling?
Oh, that's, I think it was 2012, so not that long ago. I went to Somalia. That was my first trip.
2012?
Yeah, that was something else.
What happened when you went to Somalia?
I didn't fit in.
Okay, yeah, I want to dive into that.
Okay, so, when you're here, people ask you where you're from.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, okay, they're looking at me based on, my skin color, my complexion, my ethnicity. So, sometimes I'm I'm from Somalia.
Yeah.
So I went there, being Somali, and my parents, the last time they went there, they were about 20, so this was right before the Civil War, they left. And before then, I'd always say I'm Somali, I connect with them, I speak the language. But when I went there, they could immediately tell, they're like, you're not from here. Where the heck are you from? And I'm like, oh, I'm from here. And they're like, no, you have an accent, you walk differently. It was really hard to be accepted in a sense, but you still felt like you were among your people. That's what happens when you're living in the diaspora.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of kids like that. And what happens is you grow up confused.
Did that happen for you?
Same thing.
Because you lived in Pakistan.
I lived there when I was 13.
Wow.
So when I lived there, same thing my whole life. I was like, I don't know, I'm an American, I'm a Canadian. I'd have those, just that. And that's something small. I'm finding that America and Canada, our culture is very similar.
Yeah,
it's similar.
It's very similar.
We can say we love maple syrup and all that, but it's very similar.
Maple syrup, yeah.
It's very similar. So I never had a big problem with that. But when I went to Pakistan when I was 13, it was like, you're not from here. I'm like, but I swear I'm supposed to be Pakistan. I was confused.
I'm supposed to be Pakistani.
Yeah, and then so when you went there and you felt that way, like what happened? When you talked to these people, you say you're an outsider among your own people.
Yeah.
So then, how'd you feel?
I mean, I felt like how I felt here, if that makes sense. You're from the same society, you connect with the people. For example, in Canada, I speak the language. I've been here most of my life. Of course, those who are truly from here are the indigenous people, so I can't really say I'm truly from here. But, being here for most of my life, it felt similar. It was a really interesting experience.
It's the same thing. You're like, I've been here, I've heard this before.
Yeah.
I don't really know where I'm from.
Yes.
And that's why I always say, I'm just from the world.
Yeah, it's the easy way. And people are like, tell me more. What does that mean?
Yeah. And
the world.
It's a great conversation thing because they're like, everyone always says the same. This is what I realized. We have our own, set things we're going to say. So you say, what do you do? Okay, this is my degree. This is what I'm working on right now. It's the same set things.
The same thing. That's so
And then
true.
when they meet you, it's like you said, they automatically look at you. They're like, okay, this is a black woman. And they don't see, you're like, but there's more to me than that.
Yeah.
Right? So, then you went to Somalia, 2012, didn't really fit in.
Yeah.
Where did you travel after that?
Dubai.
How was Dubai?
Dubai, I have mixed feelings. It's a beautiful place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's great if you have money.
Yeah, that's key. It's great if you have money.
If you have money, yeah. It's kind of like what I expected. Like, you kind of see it from other friends and family who's been there, like how it's portrayed in the media. Like, it was kind of a similar situation. I guess what I noticed the most is, like, the difference in socioeconomic statuses among people who are born and raised there or who are Khaliji, for example, and then those who are, like, immigrants from Somalia, from Pakistan, from India. And, like, for me, like, anytime I travel, like, I kind of put the whole luxury aside.
It's not really traveling when
That's
you're luxury.
no. So it's more about living like the locals. But I'm like, okay, thinking about it. So if I was a local here, what would I be living like? Like, what would my life situation be like? So I couldn't help but notice that huge divide.
Yeah, it's really crazy you say that.
Yeah.
Because I was there 2 years ago.
Okay, what do you think?
Same. So
Same
I'll
thing.
explain. My uncle, he had an apartment at the Burj Khalifa.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, cool, man. I was like, I'm
Balling
a broke
out of
kid.
control.
That was him. That's him.
Yeah.
I'm broke. So all right, cool. So I stayed there for 3 days, right? And I remember I was like, I hated it. Like I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then after that, it wore off because I'm like, I'm 94 floors up and I'm alone and there's artificial air being pumped in and you're just up there and you're alone.
By yourself.
And
You don't have cousins?
Huh?
Right? Did you have cousins?
No, I mean, I was like with my mom, but I mean, like,
okay,
you're just,
okay.
as a human, you're just
You're
up
just
there
alone.
alone.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd go back down, and it was during Ramadan, actually. It's funny. It was the
Yeah.
beginning of Ramadan when I was there. And I was like, I love being around. When I went back down, I was like, I hate being up there. It's like, you're literally...
isolated in a sense.
And then what happened was I started meeting the locals, too, like the Pakistanis, and I'm like, these people get treated like crap.
Yeah.
These are the ones, like, how do you think the Burj Khalifa was created?
Yeah.
It was created off a bunch of immigrants working. And then how many do you think died during building that tower?
That's so true.
You're all the way up there in the heat. Come on. Like, you mean? But they don't say much about it. It's pretty mum. So that was my perspective. I was like, this is very beautiful. It's very artificial. It's all that.
But at the same time, you look at those other people, right?
I'm so glad that you said that, too, because I'm like, now I'm going to be traveling a lot. And you hit the nail on the head. When you're traveling the right way.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, well, you just said it. You're traveling to see how do the locals live.
That's true.
Right? Where do they actually go? What are their feelings like? Not like me and you, we could go to a resort.
Yeah.
We could go sit there, all you can eat resort and spend.
Treated like queens and kings and And
I'm in Mexico, but were you really in Mexico?
Yeah, no.
All right, so then, you went to Dubai. What happened after that?
After that, I went back to school. I mean, I was in school. I was during my winter break. And then after that, I went to Italy and France.
Okay, how was that?
That was an interesting trip. Like, France was, it's beautiful, but I was more dwelled in the culture of the Italians. Because being born there was another interesting trip, because I went there and I was like, okay, so I didn't fit in Somalia. I get asked where I'm from in Canada. This is it.
I'm born here, yeah.
This is it. No, it wasn't. It was not it.
So how did that go?
It was interesting because, like, we have family friends that, like, my parents' best friends are Italian. Yeah. So we were staying with them, and we'd walk around with them in the city, and people would stop us and be like, did you adopt them? Like, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Why is it? So you guys stuck out like a sore thumb? Or
yeah. There's not a lot of Africans or Black people in Italy. If they are usually students. Yeah. And if not, you see people in the market selling things, right? So people aren't really exposed to a lot of Africans that are not specifically like straight from their homeland. So they were really confused as to the fact that we spoke English and like from Canada and that we were born there, but we don't have citizenship. It's like...
You don't have Italian citizenship?
No.
Why is that?
My sister can get it. I don't think I can. I think you have to be living there for at least 2 to 3 years, or you have to prove like Italian blood, like either paternally, something like that.
That's interesting. Okay, so you went to Italy, you did not fit in there either.
Yeah, but I still loved it.
Yeah.
Like, I love the whole culture and how they're more family-oriented. Like, they always do things. They eat together, large meals, and like...
It's funny you say that. My family... they were here, like I said, here for a long time. They're very Italian. Yeah. Because they grew up with all the Italians. Oh. So I grew up with like the Godfather
like in Seattle,
and East Vancouver and all that, all the Italians, right?
Yes.
And my dad's best friend's Italians, and so I spent so much time with them.
Yeah.
And
picking
Italians.
Up some of the things they do. And...
No, it's all about respect.
Yeah.
Right. It's all like you watch the Godfather, you see any of that's respect.
How they talk to their elders and like. A lot of things that you see in the Islamic faith, though, you see it a lot.
Same thing.
Yeah.
It is very similar. So then, Italy, and how old were you at this time?
I think I was 22.
Yeah. And then what happened?
Like, what happened in Italy?
After Italy, you left?
After Italy, I left, and I was just like, oh my God, this whole eat, pray, love thing did not work out for me.
Eat, pray, love? Oh.
I don't know where I'm from.
You tried.
I tried. And then I went back home, and my mom was like, how was it? And I was like, it was awesome, but like, I don't I'm not Italian. That's what I learned. And then after that, I kept going back to school. Where did I go after that? Morocco.
What the hell? You're all over the place.
Yeah, I have this the travel bug. Like
how do you do it? Like as a young person.
Yeah.
As a young person.
I struggled to get there.
Yeah. Like for myself, I'm in that stage where I left school and I'm like, I'm going to travel.
Yeah.
I'm going to go meet people. I want to do all that.
Yeah.
How did you do that? Like how did you end up getting it done? Like what was the process like?
For me, lots of savings.
Yeah.
Like, I worked retail, so I wasn't even making that much money, but I was, so determined. I'm like, hey, this money is going to go to my cell phone bill and traveling. So I would put some aside. And anytime I got time off, like, if I didn't study during the summer, I like to go away for,
leave.
I would just leave, yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Respect. Okay, then you go to Morocco. How was Morocco?
Oh, my God, amazing. Damn. One of the most friendliest people I've ever come across while traveling.
Really?
Yeah. Very embracing. I mean, you get scammed, if you go to the markets, where you will, that'll happen anywhere, really.
That's
just how it is.
It's the norm.
Yeah, so.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, right?
That'd scam me too.
Yeah, and I love the whole thing of, bargaining.
Bartering, it's so huge. It's fun too, yeah.
It's so much fun.
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
All right, $50, that's it.
That's
if y'all ain't having it.
You walk away, they're like, come back, sister, come back. And I was just like,
I talked to my boss. I'm like, where the hell did your boss come from, man? Yes, we can
There
make
is no
deal.
boss. It's like his mom on the other line. You're like, what? Yeah, bargaining is fun. Traveling in Morocco, I met different types of tourists. I met some that absolutely loved it. They were in love with the culture, the people. They liked bargaining. And then I came across some that were completely lost with the culture and the religion, and they didn't understand why they have to cover up in certain places. And so it was a nice experience. I think for me, because it was an Islamic country, I'm really accustomed to the rules, and it's really similar to Somalia in a sense.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that hard to get accustomed to it. The food is amazing. The orange juice is the best orange juice you'll have in your life.
Orange juice, huh? What about?
Oh my God, so fresh.
What about couscous? The food's so good they named it twice.
Yeah.
Couscous.
So good. So I'm getting so hungry now.
We're fasting right now. I know. About this. So
we shouldn't, yeah.
Okay, so it seems like you were traveling a lot. You were doing all that, and you were trying to figure out who you were. So where did the social justice come into place? The activism and all that.
Yeah, that actually happened midway through it was when I went to Somalia.
Yeah.
And I kind of went there and seeing some of the Somali refugees living in the camps and trying to understand that could have easily been me.
Yeah.
And then just thinking about how we're all just human, but how refugees are always treated so harshly.
How are they treated at the camps that you were at?
They're treated fairly well because most of the people that are running it are Somalis themselves, depending on where you go. If you go to the Kenya, it's usually run by United Nations commissioners. So for me, what I saw, I can't speak for it completely. I was only there for a day just visiting. They were treated fairly nicely. The most happiest people you'll come across. Just amazing individuals.
They appreciate life. They don't take it for granted.
Very appreciative, yeah. And then coming back here and working with refugees and seeing the hardship they go through and the intersectionality of their lives because they're facing being black, they're facing being immigrants, refugees, not being English language speakers. Seeing that and then also relating to my family story and some of the cousins that I have. And
you were saying your family story, they left during before the Civil War?
Before the Civil War.
So what happened? I don't know much about it.
Yeah. So what happened was in 1991 to 1993, there was a really horrible civil war that happened in Somalia. During that time, my parents were actually teaching at universities in Italy.
No way.
Which is why, we ended up being born there. So they were lucky enough to leave before the war. And then the Civil War happened and
Why did it happen? Do you know much about it or not?
I know some, but not the extreme story.
Yeah,
it's just something to do with overthrowing the government and people not being not being treated fairly among citizens.
Similar,
So I don't know too much detail about it. And
That's fine. Yeah.
And so everyone has their different sides and stories as to what happens.
Side.
Yeah.
So then you left.
Yeah.
They left.
So they left and they had the choice between I think staying in Italy or coming to Canada. So if they did stay in Italy, we wouldn't have the same opportunities and such. So they seeked refuge in Canada, and then they applied as refugees, and then we came here that way.
So you had a refugee background, so you could actually vibe with...
Yeah.
I think most people,
Most people, yeah. So to this day, I don't know if me and my sister came as refugees. I know my parents did. So that's where it gets a little, I don't know.
Got it.
But,
Yeah. And then, so you went to Somalia, you saw all that, and then
How they were,
and then you're like, you know what, I gotta do something about it.
I gotta do something. And then the thing is, I know I can't do much in Somalia. So I'm like, okay, where do I have connections? Where do I have resources?
Yeah.
Where do I live? Start in your community, which is where you should always start, right? So.
Wait, you're telling me I shouldn't start a cafe across the world?
No, you should, but you already planted your roots here.
No, I'm just kidding.
So
you're
good.
They're trying to help everybody else.
Yeah. So you got your bases covered.
Yeah.
So I went back and I was like, okay, what can I do? I was still a full-time student, so started going to lots of events and speaking a bit more, being more like active on my campus, and even within my faculty, there's a lot of people that didn't understand like the refugee crises and like
they've been reading about it.
They're reading about it, and then the other thing that hit me was Coney. Do you remember Coney?
Yeah, Coney was a big. Oh, it blew up. Coney 2012. Forgot. Oh my god.
Yeah. So this is a fun story. I was in sociology, one of the classes, and we were in tutorial. So like this is a class that sociology. Like if you're really interested in that kind of stuff, you don't really have to try as really hard. Yeah. If you're passionate about it.
I was the sociology major before I dropped out.
Okay. What happened? Why did you end up dropping out?
Same thing. I didn't enjoy it anymore. Like I love going to like meeting people and doing all that, but I was like sociology too. I was like I can read about this.
That is true.
But I was like, I want to go, and then we did like the mosque out there. We did the rallies, and I'm like, I was doing stuff in the real world, and I was like, man, I can sit here and keep writing thesis papers on it.
Papers after papers.
And the annoying thing for me was I was writing a paper on like, homelessness, and I was getting it from some other guy's perspective and then getting another guy's perspective and creating my own, like I had this hypothesis.
Yeah.
And I was like, or I can go and utilize my time and my energy and go and meet these people and go like above. Yeah. So that was my biggest thing with it, right? And I know that you do that in your master's and all that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't want to spend $100,000 and like sit in a classroom and have someone I'll just go
tell you stuff that you already know.
Because you can right now in the world we live in, you can get self-taught when you look at so what I think about university. I love university.
Yeah.
But I'm like, once you learn how to learn, how to learn critically and all that,
you're golden.
Yeah, then you can just go and you can buy books, you can go meet people, you can go and join organizations, you can go and do things.
Yeah.
Because when you come into the real world, they don't care about your degree, they care about your experience.
Yeah.
And that was why I was like, all right.
Experience and connections.
There we go. Honestly, you hit the nail on the head on both.
Once you get out, it's like, who do you know?
That's it.
And what can you do?
Yeah.
You're like, I read books for 7 years.
I can read. Yeah, I can regurgitate information. Yeah. They're like, great.
Yeah, and what sucks is like when you graduate and that hits you and you're like,
Because the thing is that they've been telling you this whole time, hey, you're special. You're special. You're smart. And then when you go in the real world and you're like, this is my degree. I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Everyone else has a degree. Yeah, that was my biggest thing. I was like, everyone has a degree now. Yeah. It's not what separates you. Back in the day, it was. Back in the day, and I started looking I love researching, right?
Yeah. You seem like the type that would love to research.
That's why it was a calculated move on my part why I left. But what I found was that back in the day, the wealthiest people in history were the ones that like they had books. Yeah. And then it was hard. Like if you were poor, ain't no way in hell you're gonna be able to get a book.
Yeah. Or learn how to read.
Not gonna happen. Then came the printing press.
Yeah.
And then that really exploded, and a lot more people could read like newspapers, things like that, and books.
Yep.
But our generation, you look at it, I can get a book on my phone in 30 seconds flat. Less
the world's
than that.
Changing. Times
Amazon,
changing.
you order a book, you'll get there tonight.
Yeah.
So it's like now you can get the best text of all time, and all you really gotta do is you can go online, you can YouTube a tutorial.
Yeah.
I was learning more when I was YouTubing stuff and just like Googling stuff than I was in class.
Yeah,
that was my thing. I was like, the only way they keep it relevant now is the professors were like, okay, we gotta make really weird questions to throw them off. Something that's not on Google, and I'm like.
Or like assignments, things that you can't find on Google.
Exactly, because all the assignments are already online.
Yeah, except for physics. That was a hard time.
I didn't do no physics.
It was so hard. Like I could not. I always try to Yahoo the answers. Yeah. I don't even know how I ended up in that class. Like I should have been like, they should have kicked me out. I did not understand anything, and like I couldn't find anything on Google.
So you were saying that you were in the sociology class?
Yes. Okay. So I was in the class and I wasn't paying attention. I don't know what I was doing. I was dozing off.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we were talking about race and politics and so I was like, okay, I'm alert, right? Yeah. And it kind of sucked because like I was the only person of color. And that feeling, you're going to end up being the spokesperson. Yeah. Like for some reason they feel like they look at you.
You must speak, Ilhan.
Yeah, you must speak on behalf of your people. So we were talking about Coney. I don't know how he came up. It had nothing to do with the class. And they were like, we need to stop him. And I'm looking over and I see some like young kid. He stands up. He's so passionate. He's like, me and my father are really trying to support them in finding Coney, blah, 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 blah. Like these Africans need to be stopped. And I was like, wait, does nobody see anything wrong with like what he's saying? And everyone's like applauding him, like, yes, stop Coney. So I got up and I was like, can I ask you guys all, like, where is Coney located?
Yeah.
Like, what's the country? And they're all like, Africa. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, that's what they said?
Oh my God. They said Africa. And I was like, how did you guys all end up in this class? Like,
See?
how'd you get into university? So many questions that needed answers. So that hit me and I was just like, wow. And then they all kept looking at me for the facts. And I was like, first of all, Africa is not a country.
It's a continent.
Yeah, let's start there. And like there were so many misconceptions and like ignorance around it. As you were saying, the point you said, like everything's easily accessible to us. So it's kind of like you don't have a reason to be ignorant at this point, right? You can easily, if you wanted to know about like, is Africa a country, you could easily
Google
search it up.
Yeah, no, it's a continent, dummy.
Yeah. So, and then just listening to the things that they were saying about like, oh, like all these Africans need to be saved.
Yeah.
Like that whole savior complex. And once again, like I didn't want to say something because I was like, oh, I don't want to be that person again. Either to be labeled as an angry black woman, which happens all the time.
That's the norm.
Yeah, it's the norm. Or to be seen as like the spokesperson all the time. But I was like, at this point, like somebody needs to help these lost children. So.
And it's me.
Yeah,
God has sent me.
Yeah. So that whole tutorial, like I ended up teeing the class. I was like,
gosh.
Listen, let's start with Africa, okay?
You pulled out a map. It's a continent.
Pulled out a map,
Okay, stop for a second.
Yeah, and then like how people quickly jump to the causes. I don't know. It was an eye-opening experience. And
so that was a moment.
Yeah, so the traveling experiences plus some of my classes where I got exposed to people that are really ignorant and like.
See, that's the interesting thing is that you can be at the best university in the world,
but you can come across some people that you're like, how?
But that's what I mean is like you're learning from a textbook.
Yeah.
You're learning from all these old, outdated things.
Yeah.
And then when you come in and you're like, I've been seeing the world. What the hell are you guys talking about? Like this is not what it's supposed to be like. And you come off as so fresh and you're real. You're being true, real.
That's true.
So that started the social justice.
That started it, yeah. And then I was like, okay, like now I'm trying to promote positivity around like refugees and representation. Okay, now we got to start fresh, talk about like Africans and immigrants and things like that. And like, because people, it's really profound. Like even going to Vancouver downtown, like I'll be sitting at a coffee shop and I'll come across one person per week that will talk to me and then they'll be like, you're African?
Yeah.
I didn't know Africans look like you and like talk like you. And you're like, they're watching too many of those World Vision.
Really? You think so?
World Vision commercials where they have that one child and like they kind of throw the fly at his face and they're like,
yeah, the fly.
Act.
The fly at his face. Oh my God, get out of here! You're killing me. They throw the fly at his face.
They throw the fly at his face and they're like, let's go, action.
Oh my God.
They watch too many of that stuff and then like it really gets to them and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
And even the thing is, like, with my most recent travels, I came across people, like, within Korea and South Korea, not North Korea.
No, this was recent. Where did you go?
I went to China, South Korea, and Malaysia.
Oh, okay. How long were you gone for?
Almost a month.
Oh, okay. You keep going. I want to hear this, yeah.
So, like, people that I would meet, like, again, they would always be like, I met some, like, travelers that said they would never want to go to Africa.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, we would love to travel Asia, we want to travel the world, but we never want to travel to Africa. And I'd be like, oh, tell me more. Tell me more.
Yeah, why is this?
Yeah, and they were like, it's scary. And there's
Ebola.
What Ebola, people with guns, flies. I'm like, flies are everywhere. Like, I don't understand. And they were just like, yeah, it's like, we don't want to go there. It's really dirty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of war. And I'm like, okay, there's more than like 50 countries there. They're all so diverse. Start up in like Morocco, for example, North Africa.
Egypt.
End up in Uganda. Anywhere you go, it's so diverse, different. Like, it's very stable. Lots of places you go. Of course, anywhere you go, you're going to find countries that are, or certain places that are not safe.
What baffles me is that those countries still that you're seeing on the media, the people are still living.
Yeah.
They're like, I got things to do. We still living.
Yeah.
So then what happened?
So I would just, question them, and then I'd be like, have you ever thought about, like, looking into, like, what kind of countries are in Africa and, like, places you can see, the most beautiful places you can find in Africa. So it was interesting to me, and I'm like, oh, my God, more work has to be done. Let's go. Let's keep advocating. So, yeah.
And that's kind of, I love that because it compounded. It was like one moment.
Everything. It's all experiences.
Yeah.
It's honestly experiences that kind of made me want to, like, dive into what kind of social work can I do? What can I do to kind of be, like, a positive representation in a sense? Like,
because me and you, I think when we first met, too, I was like, oh, my God. I was with Muhammad Ali. Shout out Muhammad Ali. Right? But I was with them, and I was listening to you speak at, like, I think the IDRF event.
Yeah, that was a fun event.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, it's a black woman that's not victimizing herself, that's speaking about, like, you're pouring your heart out, but you weren't saying, like, have pity on me.
Yeah.
Like, I was seeing there's a lot of people out there. It's just they've been shown that be a victim. Right? That's why I can't find it was a victim narrative.
Yeah.
It was, like, big. It's like, well, okay, you know what? Playing the victim is fun now. It's easy because it automatically takes me away from having responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm a victim.
Yeah.
I went through this much stuff.
I think it's always easy to play the role of a victim, but a lot of times, like, I guess that could be in the benefit of, like, the media. Like, they want to find the people that want to be victims and only show them.
Yeah.
They don't really show the people who are actually doing the hard work out there. But yeah, I agree. And like with me, like I always say, I'm like, I got the best of all worlds. You know, being a Muslim, woman, black, immigrant, child of refugees. But like, I always say, I'm like, thank God that I have those like parts of my identity because it helped me be resilient. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't really be as active as I am right now because I'm able to relate to different groups. Yeah. So I'm always the minority among the minorities as well. So it's like, oh, okay.
That's why I was like, oh my God, I was like, I understand what she's saying.
Yeah.
Right. For me, I was at all these different schools. I was meeting all these different people. My family's history was weird, all that stuff. And I'm like, I can play a victim now. Well, I can do this. So I was like, I think I have enough in the tank to be a victim. I was like, yes. But then I was like, do I want to?
Yeah.
Right now, Islamophobia is like the biggest thing. It's the hot topic.
Oh, it's on the rise.
Right?
Wow.
But for me, I was like, how do we counteract Islamophobia, right? I started looking at history again, researching. And I'm like, dude, I was like, you got to meet people.
Yeah.
You got to go and you got to show them, hey, look at me. If you even change one person's perspective, that whole person's life is going to be like, Muslims are fine.
Yeah, that's true.
But if I'm like, oh, yo, you are an evil person, and I'm pointing at you, you're white and you're bad.
Yeah.
It just gets them to be like, all right, I'm white and I'm bad. Well, screw you. And the divide gets worse.
It gets worse and worse, yeah. I'm almost seeing it from two ends. Like, I like what you're saying. Like, it's based on how we react, right, most of the times, and how we kind of choose to use our voices and our lived experiences to portray a positive example. And then, but I think there's some people that do get a little bit carried away, and then they start creating this narrative of, like, all white people are evil, and, like, you know, and I'm like, that's not the narrative you should take. Like,
remember Malcolm X? Malcolm X at the beginning, because he was like, he had a crazy life, right? Goes to jail, Nation of Islam saves him, and their biggest thing was white people are evil, they're the devil. Yeah. He went to Mecca, he traveled, finally.
He saw how, like, diverse it was.
And he came back, right before he was murdered, he was like, no, the white people and the devil, we got to come together.
Yeah.
I think our generation is the one that really will bring people together.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Like, the other thing that was really interesting was about how you're a feminist.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And
that word scares people.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. So, okay, as a feminist, I remember you were talking about, like, what kind of, what are you? What is a feminist to you?
Okay, so I would start off by saying I'm an intersectional feminist.
Okay, what does that mean?
So that means kind of understanding that each people, like, we have different parts of our identity that is going to affect the way that we are either seen or the privileges that we have, and we kind of have to recognize these parts of our identity before we can, like, move forward about bringing about change. So, like, a lot of times when you think of feminists, you know, most of the people, I personally used to picture just white middle-class women.
Really?
Because that's what I would see all the time. Like, this was, like, probably when I was in 6th, 7th grade, and I heard the term feminism, and I was like, I don't understand what this is. And I would just see lots of protests and rallies, or in the media, like, in films, you just show, like, middle-class
white women,
Caucasian women talking about they want to be equal to men, which is great. We should be equal to men, but it's like, okay, what about the women that look like me, my mother, my sisters, my friends? Like, we don't look like you. Yeah. And it's like, if you look at our lives, like, so that's where intersectionality comes from. Like, yes, we are women, you know, we deal with discrimination based on our gender, but at the same time, some women might deal with ageism, some of us might deal with racism, and then now Islamophobia. So you have to look at these different parts of our lives and make space for those people, right?
God, and you were also talking about your father. I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, you were saying, like, your father, like, I remember that you're like, because there's some feminine people, women that are feminists that, like, it's like an extreme where it's like all white men are bad, and I understand.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is this: when you start taking it to an extreme, the oppressed becomes the oppressor, and it's that cycle.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Okay, now there's so many more brown people as an example. Let's say we become the majority, right?
Yeah.
Then what do we do with the white people? Are we going to do the exact same thing over again?
That is, Right? The extreme of anything is never good.
It's supposed to be balanced.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people also have that narrative where they think that feminists are anti-men.
Yeah.
But I've met some phenomenal men that are intersectional feminists that understand, okay, like, you have these different parts of your identity. And, like, these are men of color, men of different faiths, like it's just wanting to also be advocates. So there's nothing wrong with that, and there's definitely not an anti-men narrative that's going on there. Yeah, true.
And what I'm finding as a Muslim is that since 9/11 as an example, what do? We closed off. We didn't meet people. We didn't talk to people. We hung out in our communities.
Yeah.
We were like, yo, okay, you know what? We're seen as terrorists. We were always apologetic and all this.
Yeah.
We never went to met people.
That's true.
And I think once the Quebec shooting happened and stuff, like people were like, yo, let's actually go
come together and do something.
It's about time.
Yeah.
And I think our generation, like I said earlier,
are taking those steps.
Because we don't see each other as like I accept you for like your color and what you've been through, but I'm not gonna be like, yo, I hate you. And I, like in my head, they had that conditioning.
Yeah.
Where it's like that person is darker skinned than me, and we're racist ourselves.
Yeah.
We forget that in the Muslim community, we're so damn racist now. You got an all black mosque there, and you have my friends that are Somalian. They're treated like crap at a mosque, and they have to go to another one. There's a Pakistan. Like there's racism that exists in our own community, and like you said earlier, charity and everything begins in your backyard. We gotta fix our own racism.
That is very true. Like, it's a really hard thing to like dive into and try to figure it out. But I agree with you. Even within our own communities, there is definitely discriminatory like feelings and resentment to certain people. It's horrible, but it happens, and it's something that we have to acknowledge and be able to stand for.
Definitely. And so I think Luke, man, what's going on? Are we almost done? We almost out of time? All right, this is our first video interview. I know it's hot in here.
It's so hot.
I know. We got a heat wave right now.
It's okay. We can keep going if you want.
No, but basically, what I wanted to, I guess, end off with, I wanted to ask a couple questions.
Yes.
One was,
ask away.
Okay, Ilhan, what's your favorite book? What's a book that you think people should read?
Oh my God, there's so many. There's one that I'm reading right now. I'm almost done.
What's it called?
It's called Americana.
What's it about?
Americana. So it's from Chimamanda. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Uh-huh.
So she's an amazing writer. She has one book about feminism, but it's kind of talking about what I was talking about in a sense. So this book, Americana, is kind of talking about living in the diaspora.
Yeah.
So it is about this Nigerian girl growing up her whole life in Nigeria, makes the move to the United States, and she's realizing now, okay, not only am I Nigerian, but I'm Black.
Got it.
Because, of course, it's a whole different ballgame. Because in Nigeria, of course, most people are Nigerian. Most people that you come across are Black. So people don't really think of, being Black. Same thing as Somalia. Like when I went there, everyone's Somali, so no one really looks at it as a Black issue if things were to rise. But when you come to America, it's talking about all of the layers to your identity and what that means and how hard it is to kind of adjust to American society. And she talks about traveling while Black, which is something when I was reading the book, I was on the plane. I'm like, that happened to me and that happened to me.
Holy crap!
I was like, oh my God, this book is about me, but she doesn't know yet.
You gotta meet her.
Yeah, so I gotta meet her. So that book is pretty good.
Americana.
Yeah, so if you kind of want to dive into what it means living in the diaspora and intersectional parts of our lives that influence how we're treated, I would say read Americana. It's a great book.
Americana, got it. And then the next question I'd say is, what's some golden advice that you got in your life from traveling? What's one thing that anything?
Golden advice.
Or what's some advice you want to give to the people that are watching?
Okay, because I can't think of advice that I was given during my travel, because it's always me being like, hold up, what did you just say about Africa? So I think advice I would give, travel. Yeah. It's definitely one thing, especially there's a lot of people that I've met that haven't actually ever left their city even, or haven't ventured out.
But they're very worldly and they think they are. They've read about a lot of places.
They learn more about the world through reading.
Documentaries too.
Yeah, which is good, to equip yourself with that knowledge, but it's so different when you get out there and you're meeting with people and you're interacting and you're actually opening your perspective.
Yeah.
As to travel more and with your group of friends, take a look around who you hang out with all the time. Are they the same people? Switch it up. Switch it out. That's honestly my advice. Like, in terms of, like, do they think just like you? Do they act just like you? Are your conversations dying down? You kind of need to meet new people from different backgrounds, different races, and just open your mind and your perspective on people. And just get out in your community. That's another advice I'd give. Because you guys all have your own lived experiences, which are phenomenal. You have your own community you can connect back to. So just go back to your community, be a voice, and hopefully be advocates as well. That's my advice.
That's perfect. Yeah. I think one thing I'd say with that too is when you and your group of friends start having a lot of drama, that's when you know it's time to say.
You gotta go.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing else to do but now drama.
Yeah.
Right?
But like, no, just obviously still stick with your friends.
Yeah.
But like sometimes it's really refreshing when you talk to someone that you never really thought you would talk to.
Yeah.
And you just walk
like
away.
Me. Like, what the hell am I doing here?
How did I get here, guys? Yeah. No.
Like, save me.
Totally kidding.
But no.
But yeah, no, I would definitely. That's one advice.
That's golden advice. I like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank you again for coming. I know you're gonna.
Thank you for having me.
I want, like I told you, I was like, before she goes to Toronto, I want to get Ilhan on the show because I know she's gonna go and who knows,
fly away.
She's gonna take all the world's it's gonna be incredible. But I want to get you on before that.
I want to keep flying. Yeah.
No, thank you again because like
you so much.
You said a lot of beautiful things.
I hope so.
Right. So if you guys want to connect with Ilhan, we're gonna have all of her the social media, the ways to connect with her. And if you're in Toronto, she's going to be moving there soon. So you guys are lucky.
I want friends.
You guys are lucky.
Come find me.
You guys are very lucky she's moving to Toronto, man. Vancouver loses another great person. And
I'll be back.
Damn it. All right. Thank you guys again.
Yeah. Peace. Thanks, guys.
I love you. Check out the podcast and subscribe. Please. Me and Luke are starving.